I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question, and I think I know the answer. Do you enjoy what you do?
I love what I do.
Yeah. That would have been my answer, right? That would have been my answer.
I quit my job and started. Like, I haven't worked a day since I stopped. I love what I do. I did my worst days doing this, which can be rough, are still some of the most rewarding I've ever had. I love the blockchain space. I'm incredibly passionate about everything that I do.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Ready to hop in the 6-4 and cruise around the blocks? There's a storm coming to the underworld and the heat is on. Take over the blocks and call the shots. It's time to hustle or get hustled. What's it gonna be? Stay sharp. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Don't let them catch you slipping. Only real gangsters thrive in the dope wars world.
Hey, Jesse, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Dude, you're absolutely welcome. I'm excited to be able to chat with you today.
Yes, thank you. And we're going to be talking about rapidinnovations.io. You are the CEO or the co-founder or founder of that project?
Yeah, I'm a co-founder, one of three, and also I drew the short straw when we were picking the CEO, and so I got to take that position.
Right.
Yeah, and so as of right now, I am the CEO.
Okay, of rapidinnovations.io. And yes. Rapid Innovations, I'm going to have all the links in the description below so people can go and find out about that and check it out. But what is it? What do you do? Why do you do that?
Yeah, so there's some story to it a little bit. So I got into the crypto space relatively early, not as early as some. Unfortunately, not early enough to be Satoshi Nakamoto, maybe. So I learned about crypto in like 2011, and I had a friend of mine. So I was in the real estate game, and I had a client who became a friend. Who decided he wanted to sell all of his real estate investments and buy Bitcoin. And I spent several hours at a coffee shop trying to talk him out of it because it seemed like a terrible, terrible idea to me at the time. This was late 2011, maybe. And he didn't listen to me, and ended up actually selling everything he owned. And when I say everything, he sold his bike, he sold literally everything he owned. Had a garage sale, sold the stuff out of his house, and he bought Bitcoin, because he thought it was going to be the future. I didn't see it. It didn't make sense to me. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Fortunately, he was right. And so he kind of took off into this, blockchain adventure, right? He was a really, really smart software engineer by trade.
Can I just ask, roughly, how many Bitcoins would he have purchased at that time?
What was the price of Bitcoin in, let's say, early 2012? It's like maybe
I got onto it when it was $5 in late 2012. So we could say $1, right?
Yeah, so something like that. So maybe 250,000 or so, give or take. And I'm sure he doesn't own all of it today, but I don't know. It was a bit. I mean, he had a bit, and through all the way, like he was a holder. He had some accidents, losing some private keys, and just all the things that anyone who got in really early, we've got all of those fun war stories.
I know,
and he's got plenty of them. And so he gets in, right? Gets a significant amount of Bitcoin, makes a significant amount of money, and then tries to convince me to come in and help build applications, because he thought that blockchain's the future. This is the new way that money's going to be done. We need to start building this application layer on the internet that accepts Bitcoin, and we need to make it so that Bitcoin is the only currency that people use, and all this different stuff. And so he starts moving that direction, tries to get me to get out of, to basically quit my job, sell my company, and join him. And I wasn't interested. I had one reason for not being interested. And that was that if you have a decentralized money, payment rail system, for lack of a better way of looking at it, the only decentralized portion of that is the payment, but the actual application itself can still be shut down, right? It can still be censored. And so 2014 rolls around, and he calls me up and he's hey Jesse, I just met this guy that if you have a conversation with him, he's going to convince you to quit your job and come work for me. And I said, yeah, man, whatever. Like, set it up. I'll have a conversation with him. And so he had, because he had a significant amount of capital, there was a lot of people that were interested in, or that were approaching him about different blockchain ideas. He helped run Bitcoin.com for a while, was good friends with Roger, and so, and a few of the other early OGs in the space. And so people would approach him for money. And so this kid up in Canada had approached him for some VC funding, to help get Ethereum started, and that was Vitalik. So there was this early call that he had me hop on, and I heard someone explain what a smart contract was for the first time, and I realized that was the missing piece. Like that is what I had been looking for, and I thought, this is it. Like the combination of the immutable, uncensorable money, and immutable, uncensorable code that can run an application. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so I ended up getting into business with him. We worked for a while building out all kinds of interesting things through 2015, 2016, the first ICO run up. Got to work with the guys over at Bancor and do some stuff there. Got to work with a lot of just very, very interesting projects. And I fell in love with decentralized app development. And so when my friend and I decided to split off and go different directions, he wanted to get more into AI and some other things. I wanted to stay in the blockchain space. I started Rapid Innovation as a one-stop shop solution for people who wanted to build an application on blockchain but didn't know what they were doing or where to start. And so the goal from the very beginning was to amass a group of talent that could take an idea out of someone's head, document it, architect it, build it, and then deploy it, so that anybody who had the capital to do so could create a decentralized application. And that's where Rapid Innovation, kind of the brainchild of it, started. This was probably 3 years ago now, I think.
Okay, so what you do is you build blockchain applications for other projects.
Yep. Yeah, basically, I get insight into tons of projects that are going on. When somebody launches a new token, right, and they're like, our development team is going to be 2 weeks behind, they're talking about us.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Can you name any projects that have used you?
I could probably name a few. Let's see. So there's an interesting thing. So there's some on our website. I think I'd probably send people there to go see stuff. I have to be a little bit careful. Maybe I'll just pull it up really fast and let people and go through it. Basically, one of the things that happens in the blockchain development space is that people want they want to be like their own. They want to be seen as their own project, and so outsourcing development sometimes is something that you just don't advertise. And so I try to be a little bit careful with our clients and not say something that someone hasn't explicitly told me that I could say. But if you go to our website, like there's a few. So like ExoFi is a project that's just now going to be launching here in the next little bit. It's a cross-chain DeFi swap platform. Planet Finance is a yield aggregator. And they actually do a bunch of stuff. It's a whole entire ecosystem, a DeFi ecosystem that is absolutely awesome. Equistart is a super, super cool project. They actually just put it on hold right now to raise a little bit more money. But basically the idea is to bring cap tables and cap table management like Carta to the blockchain space to make it a lot easier for companies in the future to tokenize their cap tables and make investing a lot easier, basically cut out a lot of middlemen through that process. I think that's going to be a brilliant project when it launches. We worked with the Wall Street Bet guys to build out a bunch of their stuff that they wanted to do. What other stuff can I share? I've got some other. Well, there's another project we're doing right now. It launches the 23rd. I think it launches on the 28th. That is a brilliant NFT platform where they're taking. There's this kid. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's brilliant. One of the smartest guys I've ever met. He's a coder, right? He learned to code really early on. He's now a designer, so he's got his own brand that he designs. He's like one of the busiest people I've ever met, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he's building an NFT platform that combines like real world apparel and his brand with digital ownership. They're launching. They're launching on the 28th. I don't think I can actually talk about who they are until after they launch. But yeah, I mean, there's right now, I think in the pipeline, I've got maybe nine different clients on a waiting list right now. And then we're currently working on, I think, 17 applications at the moment.
Okay. Now you don't have your own token, right?
No, not yet. One day, maybe.
All right. One thing I'm puzzled by is why you actually wanted to do this interview, because you're an infrastructure project in the background. And, you know, my videos, and perhaps if you've been on other channels and stuff, right, we're watched by people who are looking to invest into cryptocurrency projects. Sometimes, people that are interested in the tech and all of that and the theory, but really people come into crypto because they want to make money, because there isn't any other way really of secure. You know, I mentioned to you beforehand, before we started talking, I'm a child protection social worker. But for Bitcoin, I wouldn't have a pension. But for Bitcoin, I wouldn't have a financial future, because I've given a good part of my working life to working with children who are abused. And, you know, social workers don't have a lot of union power, because when social workers go on strike, nobody's upset. Teachers go on strike and doctors go on strike, and the middle classes are really upset, right? Nobody's upset when social workers go on strike, right? Yeah. So why even come on this? And you know, what is it that you're out to cause? Because people will already know you. You're already well connected through the back channels.
Here's what's interesting. So I get a bunch of different kinds of people that walk through the digital doors of rapid innovation. I get like large institutions, you know, like Office Depot and Google and, you know, like the big institutional guys. They'll come through and have little stuff for us to do. And then I'll get the hardcore blockchain entrepreneurs that come through, and they've already built 5 or 6 different things and they're trying to build another one, or they've already had one successful launch and they want to do another launch. But some of my favorite people to work with are guys like a guy that I talked to a couple of days ago, that he's passionate about the blockchain space. He's like any of your viewers, right? Where he got into it, he put a little bit of money in. He's made a fair amount, and he wants to, he sees problems in the world that can be solved through blockchain. He's made some money, and granted, he's looking to make some more, right? Because when you actually start a successful project, you can make a fair amount of money. Yeah. You think you make a lot when you go and you buy early. Like when you create the token, there is money to be made there. And you know, his goal was to solve some real world problems for people that are trying to get into the blockchain space, to make it a lot easier, you know, for a certain set of people to get into the blockchain space. And so he wants to build an application around that, deploy a token around that. Those are my favorite people, because those are people that are hungry, that, you know, for a long time I sat on the sidelines of watching the whole crypto thing go, right? I wasn't a builder. And one of the things that I said to myself often was, as new projects would come out, I would say things like, well, that's dumb. Like, they should have done it like this. Or why isn't anyone thinking about solving these problems? Why isn't anybody doing this? And then I realized that if I actually want to make a difference in this space, if I want to actually see adoption, maybe I should go do that. Maybe I should be the guy that actually goes and does it. And so my original idea pre-rapid innovation was actually to build a product. You know, something maybe in the real estate sector, because I had been in that sector. And as I was thinking about my motivation for why I wanted to build something, really it was adoption. Like, I would like to see this technology become mainstream adopted. You know, I'd like to see people using it, because there's the opportunity to make money, and that's great. Like, you need to have money, right? Everyone needs a little bit. But more than that, there's the opportunity to level the playing field and to reduce inefficiency in the marketplace. I mean, that's what I see blockchain doing more than almost anything else is the reduction of inefficiency, because you get rid of oftentimes third parties with smart contracts. And when you get rid of third parties, you eliminate the human element, which is costly and creates problems. And the more third parties you have to any transaction, whether that be tracking a supply chain or the middleman in a hedge fund or lenders, realtors, like all of these people that exist currently to facilitate transactions between two parties because they don't trust each other. When you actually create an infrastructure that does that, that is inexpensive and completely trustless, like you create a better world. And so instead of me taking one idea to market that may or may not be successful, why don't I build a machine that can help hundreds, maybe thousands of people bring their ideas to market? And then I will actually make an impact. Because for me, that was the most important part. Like I wanted to make an impact. And I did that in the very beginning with like normal people that, they had gotten into Bitcoin early. They had, they had made some money and they had an idea for an application and they showed up. They didn't know anything, which is why I built the company the way that I did. And they said, hey, I want to create, this thing that I've had in my head. Can you do that? And I would say, yes, I can. Okay. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. And so that was the idea. Jesse, that's why it's interesting to talk to your viewers.
So Jesse, you've been working in this space for a few years with this project. You've dealt with, I don't know how many dozens and dozens of projects that have had successful, come to you with MVPs that have gone on to be really, really successful. So you must be known in the industry. But how come you're not known like a name, like Roger Ver or, others like that, like Vitalik Buterin? I'm not suggesting you're, I'm not making any comments about Superior, but how come you're just not known?
I mean, some of it is because I don't really have that personality. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing podcasts right now is because my SEO guy told me I need to start doing podcasts and I need to start getting out there. So some of it's that. Like I love to work behind the scenes. I love to see the projects that we do work on be successful. And it was a project we worked on that I didn't have. Like our name was never even attached to it because it was an anonymous project. And I watched them, get billions of dollars locked up. And it was just really cool to watch, right? To just sit back and watch the fruits of your labor become successful. But I didn't feel the need to go on social media and start bragging about it or investing. For me, I just love to see things like innovation happen. So that's part of it. I think the other part of it is just I haven't ever tried. I go to a conference. I was at a conference this year and was talking to some of the guys at Consensus and told them I own a blockchain development company. And they're like, oh, we'd have a conversation. He says, how many guys do you have? I said, I've got 300. He's like, what?
Sorry.
So what's your name again?
There's a bit that cut out. So you were at Consensus.
It was like, not Consensus, ETH Denver. Sorry, I misspoke anyway. So it probably censored me because I was saying the wrong things. I was at ETH Denver and I was talking to some of the guys at Consensus. And we were having just a normal conversation and he asked me how many guys I had. And I'm like, oh, I've got 300. He's like, yeah, he couldn't believe it. He's like, how come I've never heard of you?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because I'm slowly creeping in so that one day I can buy Consensus. So I just need to make my first 7 billion and then your company's mine. But, I just have never really cared that much about like the public stage. I more just want to help entrepreneurs build stuff. And so as long as they can find me, which anybody who goes and starts looking for a developer to help build a decentralized application, like they'll find us because like all of those places that you would go look, we're there. I'm just not on any of the mainstream outlets. I'm not shilling projects. I'm not, I'm not this big public stage advocate that's trying to push the blockchain space. Maybe I will be one day, maybe that's the direction my life's going to go. I kind of doubt it. I would rather the company become big and the company become recognized and I can just fade into the background. That would be my goal.
I get it. I completely get it. It's like the single-minded focus and attention on what you're good at and what you're passionate about. And again, I can see myself in you, or I can relate to what you're saying in a particular way because, I've been doing child protection social work for 10 years and I think I'm really good at it. I've got 10 years experience, seen all kinds of stuff that would just boggle your mind. And I did a little bit of management. because by now I should be into management and managing social workers and running a little department stuff. I did it for 4 months. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't me. Wasn't me. Now I want to be on the front line. I want to be cycling about, visiting families, seeing the kids, talking to them, looking out for stuff. Don't want to be pushing paper, so I get it.
Yeah, well, if I could do anything at Rapid Innovation, like if I could quit my job as the CEO, which I'm not allowed to, but if I could, I would go back to working directly with customers doing discovery, like pulling ideas out of people's heads, helping to develop it and getting it ready for developers. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding on planet Earth than sitting there doing that.
Yeah.
And one day I will. That's when I know that I've made it, when I no longer run Rapid Innovation. Instead, I work for Rapid Innovation at a low-level discovery and architecture job. I've made it full circle. I'm successful finally.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question which I don't think I've ever asked, and I've been running my channel since April 2017, and I've interviewed I don't know how many dozens of co-founders and founders and stuff like that, right? And how many dozens of projects. I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question, and I think I know the answer. Do you enjoy what you do?
I love what I do.
Yeah. That would have been my answer, right? That would have been my answer.
I quit my job and started. Like, I haven't worked a day since I stopped. I love what I do. I do my worst days doing this, which can be rough, are still some of the most rewarding I've ever had. I love the blockchain space. I'm incredibly passionate about everything that I do.
Okay, so I'm going to assert something else then, right? Because actually, and why I asked that question is because I can see myself in you. And I'll say how in a moment, right? So you don't need the money. Having more money is nice. I want to have more money. I wish I had more Bitcoin. I wish I'd bought more in 2013. I wish I hadn't made the mistakes that I've made. I wish I had more, right? I just wish I had more. I wish my wife would let me buy more, right? I wish I never had to cash any in, right? But I don't need it. And I'm asserting that you don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got past that point where I needed money a while ago. Like, for me,
so that this is now a labor of love.
Yeah,
right. Because that. Yeah. And why I'm asking all that and leading it this way is because I was picking it up from you. I was sensing it. I thought, well, this might be what's going on, because that's my job in a way as a social worker. Like, what's going on in the background? See, and I just want to share something myself. Is my children are home educated, never been to school, and one of the things I had to do is I live outside London. Is I had to travel to London leave early Monday morning, stay till Friday night, sleep on cousins' floors because I could earn more money in London than I could here. So my wife wouldn't have to go to work because my children were young and one of us need to be at home. And now they're older, and I'm now at the point where I don't have to do social work. The fiat is nice because it means I don't have to spend the Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right.
I hear you there.
But I don't need the fiat. So then I choose to do social work, and it's not an easy job, but as a labor of love.
Yep.
Which is a very, very different experience of doing it because I got to do it and I'm trained to do it. So then I just sense that from you that this is a labor of love and how you get to make a difference in the world. And I suppose it's the opportunity of what cryptocurrency has allowed thousands and thousands of people to engage in something that they're actually authentically passionate about and have all that other stuff handled, the basic stuff that we need to have handled.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about you? I've been working with entrepreneurs for a long time, doing different things, because early on I've been an entrepreneur forever. I think I've had a few jobs, but not very many. And then I started working with entrepreneurs, just doing different stuff. I was pretty big into UI, UX, and like early stage architecture for, application development. And so I don't know what the list is. I mean, it's hundreds of different projects at this point. And what's interesting, there are two kinds of people that come and talk to me. Mm-hmm. There are people that want to make money, and that's it. Like, they came up with an idea that they thought would make them money. And then they called me because they wanted to execute it because they wanted to make money. And then there are guys who actually found something they were passionate about, something they loved, and they tried to solve a problem and realized in the course of working through a solution to that problem that if they solve this problem for people would probably pay for it. Like, they could make money. And right there, that kind of fork in the path that entrepreneurs take whether they're going to be very money focused or they're going to be passion driven, is probably, I mean, it probably accounts for 70 to 80% of what it takes to be successful when you create a startup. Because anyone who wants to make money, the thing that I've found is as soon as somebody gives them an idea that they think might make them more money or is a little bit better, they shift, right? They can't keep focused. But because the other guys aren't focused on making money, they're focused on solving a problem, making the world a better place, something they're passionate about. They just keep plugging towards that end goal, right? And all the shiny objects, or I kind of equate it to driving down the freeway, right? And you got the billboards that say like, "Hey, stop here. This is an amazing thing. Stop here. This is an amazing thing." If you're just going for a drive and you've got nowhere you're planning on going, you're going to exit anywhere that kind of catches your fancy, right? But if you have an end goal in mind, like, "Hey, I'm going to Yellowstone and that's where I'm going," all the big fancy billboards and all the exits that kind of tell you that you're going to have a lot of fun in all of these different places, like, you don't stop unless you have to.
They're out.
You're going to keep
television.
going. Exactly. And
yep.
And man, those people are almost always successful. And the guys that aren't, they're not going anywhere. They started driving because they want to get rich. Those guys oftentimes, some of them make money, some of them make lots of money, but oftentimes they fail.
Well, the ones people who are out to fulfill a vision can't be bought.
Yeah.
Vision is priceless. And then I'm very interested in politics. So I think of people like Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela and Muhammad Ali, all men with M names in them. And let's throw in Malcolm X as well, right? But they were all out to fulfill a particular vision. And in those instances, it was a political vision, but they couldn't be bought. Because important. So
because money didn't matter. At the end of the day, money didn't matter. And, I mean, the truth is, I think I would do this. What I do today, I would do it if someone paid me a lot of money to do it. I'd do it if I made no money. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't do this. I don't even think about it in those terms anymore because it doesn't matter to me. Like, the thing that I care about is, I want to meet those people. There's like 1 in 10 usually. I want to meet those people that are incredibly passionate about changing the world. They have a real problem that needs to be solved. And I can tell they're going to do it. Like, come hell or high water, no matter what anyone tells them, they're going to solve that problem. I love meeting those people because those people change the world every time. And if you can really support them and you can really provide them tools and an avenue to be able to do that, they also make money as a byproduct. Not always, but they're significantly more successful than the people who can be bought because those guys get distracted real easy.
Yes, and I think I've met a few of those. All right. Well, look, let's get away from the philosophy of the organization, which we somehow accidentally fell into, right? So I've got an idea for a blockchain application. I mean, I haven't really, but let's say I have. I come to you, then what happens?
So, I mean, the first step is we just get a high level view, like, what do you want to do? And you tell us. And as long as it wasn't immoral, I don't want to say illegal because that really depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. But as long as it wasn't immoral, really by my standards, right. Then we go through this process that we call discovery, architecting, and design, which is really the most important part of the entire process. So when most people have an idea, right, they simplify it down generally into the solution to their problem statement. Like, it's really hard to buy used cars. And so I want to make an application that makes buying used cars easier. And somehow I can do that through blockchain, right? And so they're like, oh, this will be a great idea. Everyone buys used cars and they look at how big the market is and they look at whether or not they can make money. And but they skip the actual, how the application is going to work. Almost everyone does this. And so it sits inside their head as this general idea in some level of detail, let's say from 1 to 10, 10 being the most detailed. And even at 10 detailed, it's still sitting inside the wrong people's head because this guy's not going to sit down. He's not going to build it. He's going to ask us to build it. And so we have to somehow get whatever level of information you have in your head out of your head and onto paper. And then we need to fill in whatever gaps there happen to be in the idea that you had in your head. And when we're done with that, we end up with what we call a PSD, or product specification document, which basically just lays out like who the users are, what functions they need to use. It gives us all the information to be able to actually architect the application. We get the user experience or the UX. We get the UI, which is what the finished application is going to look like when we finish with it. And then we get the architecture, architecture documents and diagrams that actually shows how the app is going to work on the back end and how we're going to actually move information around, move money around, allow different users to interact with each other. Once we have all of that, then we can now, we've now extracted the idea out of your head. We can give that to a project manager and a group of developers, and they take all of the still kind of too ethereal for them at this point. They take all of that information and they break it down into actual tasks. Like for instance, I want a user to be able to go and upload images of their car and put in a price and put in a description. Well, they say, okay, well, in that case, we're going to need to, create entries in a database somewhere, or we're going to need to create a smart contract that's going to hold this, or we're going to need an NFT factory that's going to mint, these ads for vehicles, or whatever architecture they had that was going to solve their problem. And they actually create, then hundreds and hundreds of tasks to get to the first milestone. We run agile methodology, which basically just means that we're going to take small chunks at a time and iterate and make sure that any changes that need to be made can be made on the fly, so we don't get 3 months down the road and you find out that we're doing something wrong. And so we usually build those tasks into 2-week sprints, and then we work through those sprints until the application's done. Depending on the size, it's usually somewhere between, let's say 3 months is probably average, but somewhere between 2 and 4 months to get a MVP or a minimum viable product out. And then once we're done with that, we deploy it, and you go to marketing. And so it's a pretty simple process. And then we'll start, if you were able to raise money during that time period, or people bought your token or whatever, usually you've got ideas for improvement, right? Because we've cut some of the functionality out to make a minimum viable or minimum valuable product. And so then we start working on phase 2, and we start adding those features in that we cut out to create the MVP.
Okay.
And the cycle starts over again.
And you can do this on any blockchain, or do you have a preference for a particular blockchain?
So we've got some preferences, and it's definitely not any blockchain, although we're expanding relatively rapidly. And I don't usually think of them in the term of blockchains, because, for instance, Solidity is the smart contract development language for Ethereum, but it's actually the smart contract development language for a lot of different blockchains. And so because I've got developers that know Solidity, that actually allows us to probably do development on 15, 20 different blockchains.
Okay.
And then I've got...
the EVM ones like Binance and...
And even beyond that, like Cosmos has a Solidity EVM. People are developing Solidity EVMs for Solana. Now, I tend to not like, or not Solidity EVMs, but they're developing SDKs that allow Solidity developers to work on other chains that aren't natively written in Solidity for their smart contract layer. So it's even beyond EVMs a little bit. But then we've got Rust developers, and so Rust developers open up a whole nother branch of blockchains. Like you've got Polkadot and Solana and Terra, which we shouldn't talk about too much, and things along those lines, where you're building in Rust. And then you've got the C++ stuff, which would be actually how it started, on the whole, like EOS and Wax and Telos, and all of that was all C++ driven. And so between those 3 languages, we probably get, it's probably 20 or 30 blockchains that we've done work on, and it's probably more that we could do work on. And then I've got new groups of people. Like I've actually got a team of people starting on Thursday on a new blockchain, which I can talk about, called Fuel, run by this super, super brilliant guy named Nick. They're not quite out yet. This one is like very, very brand new. They've raised a lot of money, and they want us to start building out some of the like core features, so that they don't launch naked, so to speak, or without any utility, without any application. So they've handled the blockchain and they built it. And that is through another language called Swift, which they've developed from the ground up based on Rust. But it's really one of the first blockchain smart contract languages that was actually developed from the ground up to create smart contracts. And so I'm very, very excited about it, actually. And we're going to start on that. And so that's a new language that we'll be picking up, and then we'll be able to add that to our list. And if Swift takes off as a smart contracting language, and goes on other chains, then those guys will work on those chains as well. But for right now, it's just fuel.
Right. Okay. And then I don't imagine you give advice in terms of tokenomics and marketing and stuff, because you're just dealing with the back end, like building out the application.
So we do to a certain extent. I've been in the space a long time. I understand the basics of tokenomics, but one thing I do know is that there are a lot of people out there that are smarter than I am when it comes to that, or at least they claim to be smarter than I am. But I've seen a lot of tokenomics not work, and so as a company we have. And so when someone shows up and says, "Hey, we've got this idea for our tokenomics," I can say, "Well, actually, that's been tried on these 7 different projects that that we've seen over the years, and it's never worked. Are you sure?" And right. So we there's some advice that we can give people. And if you don't want to do something that's really complicated, like sometimes people will come in with their ecosystem will have 8 different tokens that all kind of move around in different ways. Different, like some are redeemable for some in some, cases and all this. And when you get really complex like that, like I'm not interested. But if you have a single token and you're looking for tokenomics on like how to launch, and you want to create a strategy for, like your basic 80% of these projects, 80% of people's projects fall in those, kind of in that category of just very basic tokenomics, that's easy. We'll help people with that. But outside of that, I would refer you to someone who knows what they're talking about if you want to be really complex.
Okay. And then how do you take payment? You take upfront, or you take, like a share of the profits or something, or is it different each time?
Yes, we've done, we work with startups, and so we have to be pretty flexible, because you go get a gig with Microsoft, and then you just tell them like, "Hey, I want you to pay me a retainer every single month," and then they write you a check. They don't even think about it, right? They don't really care. But when you're working with entrepreneurs, especially like their very first startup, oftentimes there's a little bit of fear, and there's, like this is the first time they've ever done something like this. It's expensive to hire a team of, 6 to 8 experienced blockchain developers and team members to help you build an application out, right? So they're spending a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so we will divide that up like, a bunch of different ways. But typically someone puts 50% down. I need to know that 50% of the first month's payment down, because I need to know they're serious. And then after that, we do the work and you pay after it's done. And so I don't ask people to pay me prior to the work being done. And so you pay at the end of every single month for the work that was done that month. And then if somebody wants to do like a token allocation, basically I just treat that like any investment. I look at it. I ask them to show me a lot more information than I'm going to ask for. Like, what's your marketing plan? What's your go-to-market? Prove to me you have product market fit. Prove to me that people are actually going to be interested in this. How big is your community? If you don't have a community, how are you going to grow one? And if they don't have good answers to the questions that I see people need to have good answers to if they want a project to be successful, then I tell them, no, I'm not interested in taking a token allocation. If they do, then yeah, that's always on the table.
Right. Okay. And then I imagine you're ahead of the curve, because you're building stuff, working on stuff, and hearing stuff before it hits market.
Yes. So yeah, I do have some insider information, generally speaking, if there was such a thing in this market.
But more like, but also like trends. Oh, this thing's up. This thing. Yep. Maybe you saw the emergence of NFTs or the emergence of DeFi before the market did.
Yeah, usually I get to see that stuff about 6-8 months before the like common retail investors get to see it. And the reason for that is that I start getting phone calls, right? Or people start messaging us on the website. Like prior to the big NFT craze, we were getting tons and tons of people that were coming in saying, "Hey, I want to create an NFT project. Hey, I want to create an NFT project. Hey, I want to create an NFT project." And like 80% of the people that were knocking on our door asking for us to do stuff were people trying to do something in the NFT space. Well, it's like, well, I guess NFTs are going to be popular about 3-4 months from now once all this stuff starts launching, right? It's a little bit of a lag indicator because usually one thing has happened, right? Like one thing is kind of taken off, but it hasn't really mainstreamed yet. And so same thing with DeFi. That was right now, actually, for all the people watching who are looking for things to get into, the next one that I see coming, just based on how many people are calling me, it's GameFi. Like
GameFi.
GameFi will be the next the next crypto summer that we have, or the next altcoin summer that we have. It's
Right.
GameFi space.
Right.
Almost certainly. If that pattern continues, that when a bunch of people call me about stuff, 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, it's going to be big. Then GameFi is coming fast.
Yeah, I've covered a few GameFi projects already on my channel. Which is a fusion of, for people who don't know, gaming and decentralized finance, like making decentralized finance like a gaming experience.
Yes. Well, and it's going to go beyond that. I mean, there's going to be interesting things. Like people are thinking through how to create like economic incentive systems that you can plug into like everyday work, right? So how do you incentivize your employees to do work? How do you gamify things? And utilizing blockchain technology in actually gamifying employees at a company, or 1099 contractors to get things done, right? So there's some crazy innovation that I think we're going to see in this next go around, way beyond Xfinity or Axie or whatever the game was that took off. I mean, there's going to be some really, really crazy cool stuff that comes out of this.
Oh, GameFi work. See, now I'm appalled by that idea, right? As someone who actually does social work, does their work because I find it purposeful. Yeah, I want to get paid because I got bills to pay and I don't want to cash in my crypto, right? But you can't like turn my work into just a commodity, into a transaction. One of the things when I was researching home education, one of the things they found is that when they were giving children rewards in a school, in a study for drawing, when the children stopped getting the rewards, they stopped drawing.
Yep. It is how people work. That's why you cannot bribe your children into doing things, because they will do them, but they won't enjoy them. And you can actually take something that someone genuinely enjoys and ruin it. A good example of this, my daughter, we do farmers markets and stuff. My kids, they started a business. They're young, but I also do home education. I shouldn't take credit for it. My wife does. She's brilliant. I'm not.
But did they go to school?
No, they're home educated. Yes.
Come on, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and so one of the advantages to be able to do that is that I don't know how careful I have to be with this information, but I don't think it matters. So I wanted to teach my kids about finance, right? I watched.
You want to teach them about what?
Just about financial wisdom, right? And not like how to save money and how to budget money, but like I watch entrepreneurs get screwed over by venture capitalists all the time. I watch them get into bad deals. I watch people lose a lot of money, give away equity they shouldn't, because they're driven by their emotions. And so I decided my kids wanted to start a cotton candy business. And so I told them, well, hey, like I will invest in you guys. You've got two options. I'll do a convertible note, which is debt, and you guys start the business, and then you owe me my $1,000 back after you get the business up and going, with 6% interest. And it's a 1-year cliff. And so if you don't pay it back in that 1 year, I'll convert it into equity at whatever your current valuation is. And they're like, and so that was one option. I said, the other option is I'll give you $1,000. You give me 25% of your company. Done. I said, if you guys fail to start this company and it doesn't work, I can't come get my money back because I'm just a venture capitalist. But if you guys succeed, I own 25% of all the profit that you make. And they're like, but like, if we don't do it, like we don't have to pay you back. I'm like, nope, you don't have to pay me back. Just pure, sweet, simple venture capital. And they're like, okay, well, let's do that. That sounds way better than debt, where there's no obligation to pay back. And so they go that route. I give them their money. They start doing farmers markets, and they had a unique selling proposition, right? We went through the whole business class and I taught them, what that looked like. And so they're turning actual candy into cotton candy. So like, I don't know what you have over across the pond, but Skittles and Jolly Ranchers and different things like that. They're actually spinning them into cotton. Mm-hmm. And so it's very popular, right? And they make a lot of money.
How old are they?
Well, now, so when they started, I think my oldest was 11 and my youngest was 7. Wow. And there's 4 of them. So they were pretty young, too young to be making big financial decisions. Well, now my oldest is 13, right? And they make good money. And she's like, hey, Dad, like, we don't want you to own 25% because you do nothing. She's like, you just sit around and we have to give you 25% of our money. And I said, yeah, that's how it works when you're a VC. And she said, so we want to buy you out. And I said, okay, well, let's go through like a typical, valuation for your company. Let's look at the profits you made over the last year. and then we'll multiply it by 5, and that's your total valuation. I own 25%, and so then you guys can just pay me that 25%. I'll give you the shares back. Well, it wasn't $1,000 anymore, right? It was like $8,000. And they're like, Dad, you screwed us over. And I thought, this is why home education is amazing. Why business is amazing, because they will never make that mistake. Like, I see a lot of guys in their 40s go talk to a VC, and a year later they feel like they've been completely screwed over just because they didn't know any better. Well, hopefully my kids learned it at 12 with a cotton candy business that their dad helped them finance, so they don't have to learn it as when they're my age.
Yeah. Jesse, I just might have to change the theme of this conversation a little bit, because I want to share something about my son, right? So he bought Bitcoin when he was 11. He's now 17. I got into the Osmo ecosystem in June last year, quite by accident, and tried it out for a month. And I said to him, okay, look, you set yourself up. I'll throw you some Osmo, you get going with it. He's making really nice passive income some 11 months later from the airdrops and the staking and the LP mining, right? He's 17, right? And he's got a job at McDonald's, and then he decides to go to college, and I try and talk him out of it. You don't have to go, you don't have to go, you don't have to go. No, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. You don't have to go, you don't have to go, I want to go. Right. Well, if you're going to go, you better study, because I'm paying for your exams. So
yeah.
He goes, he's completely self-motivated. He turns up regular. He doesn't want to hang out with me and my cousins who are over visiting because he's got to go to college the following day. His own bloody choice, right? Look, you don't have to go to college. I didn't want you to go to college. I want to go to Pakistan. Can I come, Dad? No, because you got to go to college. You got to go, right? But anyway, he's doing economics, and he comes back and he goes, my economics teacher knows nothing about money.
Dude.
I mean,
good for him. Sounds like you've got a smart kid. See, that's why I like home education. It's not for everybody. I think there's a lot of people that should not educate their kids. But I think if you're intelligent, and my wife is by far smarter than I am, like, she's the right person to be educating them. I married up, and I'm a pretty smart guy. And my kids, they're very, it's not just smart. It's not like they're just intellectual. They have some wisdom, right? Dude, and for your son to come back and say, my economics teacher doesn't know anything about economics, doesn't know anything about money, that's wisdom is what that is. That's not smarts, that's wisdom.
Well, can I just say something? Because where it came from is when Russia pegged the ruble to gold, not backed it. They pegged it to gold. And he had a conversation with his economics teacher, and he's saying, look, the ruble, my son was saying the ruble is going to recover. And the economics teacher was saying, no, it's not. And my son came on, he doesn't get gold. He doesn't get sound money, right? It's like, what?
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing how many people don't know anything, let alone economics. And that's why I hope my kids, if they want to, I hope if my kids want to go to college, I have the exact same conversation you had with your son, where I try to talk them out of it, and they say, no, Dad, screw you. I'm going to college because I want to do this very specific thing, and I'm motivated to do it. If we can have a conversation like that, I'll be very happy.
Oh, you can.
But,
you can. I've said,
but I hope they just go start successful businesses. That's what I'd rather them do.
That's what he wants to do. I've said to him, you want to go to university? You're going to have to earn the money to pay. I'm not going to pay for you. And then I have a disagreement with my wife about it.
So wait, let me guess. Are you paying for his college?
No, it's free in the UK.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're paying for his exams.
Yeah, we had to pay for his exams.
Yes, and you are paying for them because you're married to your wife, and she decided you were going to pay for them.
She wanted him to go to college. It's funny because I'm a university graduate. She's not. She's the one who wanted to go to college and do his A levels and all of that. Right? I'm like, no, he doesn't need any of that. He can go later on if he likes. He should just hang out, play, make money.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, let's get back to rapid innovation.
Oh yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to be careful when I'm talking with people. Dude, there are so many amazing people in this space that know a lot. I think I'm very fortunate to be a part of it, because you seem like you're as passionate about this kind of stuff as I am. I actually forget sometimes when I'm doing these that I'm on like a podcast or I'm on something, I'm being recorded. Then I have to be super careful what I say. Sometimes I'll go a little crazy. But I love talking to people who are super passionate about the blockchain space.
I think because I'm not techie. I suppose I'm an expert, or I'd like to think I'm an expert in human tech. What has a family be successful, and how to look for signs of. How to look at bad code within a family.
Yes, find the bugs.
You're
right. QA. You're like family QA. Oh, it sounds like a terrible job.
That's right. You can do an audit on a family or something, right? You see the bugs, like you say, right? Okay, with software. I do it with family work. So in that way, I'm passionate, and I do enjoy and love talking to people and out to make a difference to people. But let's get back to rapid innovations again. Okay, so then you make these you make the applications, you got the MVP, off they go. What if there are problems with it?
So we set up what we call a maintenance, like a maintenance contract or a maintenance agreement with people, where as long as they need support, and this is assuming that they aren't continuing development, which a lot of projects, like I would say 8 out of 10 projects that hire us, they start on like a 3-month contract to build an MVP, and then on average we work for people for 8 months to maybe 18 months, somewhere in there. So a lot of people go a lot longer with us than than that initial 3 months. And so if that's the case, we just continue to work on the old stuff. If there are bugs that come up or things that happen, which there always are, then we just fix those as we go. But if somebody has a hard, like a runway ending issue or financial stuff, and they want to stop and raise money, and it's just keeping a full-time team doesn't make sense, then we just put them on a maintenance contract for 10% of what we're charging, and then they have access to developers whenever they need them to go on and fix stuff.
Right. Okay. And how large is your team, including your developers?
Yeah, it's about 300 people.
Wow.
Yeah. It is. So in terms of like software development teams, we're very small. I mean, I don't know. I think that one of the largest software development companies in the world has like 800,000 people on the team. Okay. And so we're tiny. But in terms of
people on your website, because I had
in terms of blockchain only development companies, you can quote me on this, but it might not be true because I haven't done the research to really know if it's true or not. But I believe that we are the largest blockchain only focused web development company in the world right now. Not because we've done something amazing and built this really big company, but because there just aren't a lot of people doing it.
Okay. All right. Now your sound went a bit funny there as well. It disappeared. It didn't get distorted.
It just went off?
Yep. No, it's back now. It's back now. Okay. Next question. So now I understand there's a shortage of developers, of good blockchain developers. How do you find them?
So a lot of what we do is we train them. And so we do a lot of recruiting out of some of the best tech colleges in the world. Actually, a lot of tech colleges in India, because some of the smartest web developers I've ever met in my entire life. And so like we will recruit out of the India Institute of Technology, or different really, really high class, well trained technology institutes around the world, and then we'll train them from scratch and bring them into the blockchain space. And so that's part of how we have a whole training program, a whole internship program, that we bring people in and they get a mentor and they're trained up. And then anytime I find amazing talent, I hire them.
Right.
It's like in anybody, if you're a good fit on the team, you're really passionate about what you do, and you have a lot of experience in the blockchain space, like you've got a job here.
Okay.
Like 100% for sure.
And if somebody wants to apply for an internship or to be a developer, they can go to the website and all the links below.
Yep. Yeah, you can just go on the website and show up. And I've got, across all sections, if you're a UX person, you love crypto, like I've got, I need you. If you do QA, you love crypto. Like if you do marketing and you love crypto, you're sales and you want to get in the crypto space, like I'm looking for, I don't care as much about your qualifications to do the job. I care more about how passionate you are about crypto. I care about what you're passionate about. Like to me, that's the most important thing. So if you've watched the YouTube video, our YouTube that we recently started, it's got Luke on there. Luke is a guy I met at the vape store because I was getting vape juice that he wanted to be an influencer and he loved blockchain. And I said, well, why are you working at the vape store? He's like, how does a guy become an influencer in the blockchain space? I said, well, you meet a guy like me and I hire you. He's like, are you going to hire me? I said, yeah. And so I brought him on and runs my YouTube stuff. And so I don't really care that he doesn't have the experience. I care that people are very, very passionate about that they're doing what they love. Because if you do what you love, you will be successful, period. Always. It happens.
Do you know that the success in doing what you love is actually doing what you love when you're doing it? That's what success is.
Yeah. And you can make money generally.
Yeah, you can
at least some. Yeah,
make some, right? But it's like what people have this idea that if I have a certain amount of money, then I'll have the nice house and the fast car and the yachts and the holidays, and then I'll be happy. No, you just have more problems. You'll have a different set of problems. One of the things I said to my wife, because we moved from a small flat in London to where we are now, semi-detached suburban in a town outside London, right? And it's a nice house, and then she wants us to get a bigger house. She says, more to hoover. There's more rooms to hoover, more to tidy up. I don't want to. And then we have to. She said, we'll get a cleaner. We have to get a cleaner. You have to. Are they trustworthy? How well do they do? What do they go on holiday? And now we have the problem of paying a cleaner. It doesn't solve anything, right? But I suppose the joy is in the moment of living when I'm doing something that I enjoy. That's what it is to be successful.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I love it when people call me up and they say like, "Hey, I don't really have any experience in the blockchain space, but I love it and I'm really good at X. Could you use me?" It's like, you know what? If I can't use you now, let me find a way to bring you on board, because I just want people who are passionate, who want to be in the space.
sure.
And I'm trying to surround myself by as many of those people as I can, because that's how we help clients build successful projects. I mean, is by, everything is a passion project for, like, we all buy into the same vision.
Yes.
Right? We're trying to bring innovation. We're trying to bring innovation to the world, really, through a select few technologies that we think are going to make a huge impact, blockchain being one of them. And if people buy into that and the client shows up, everyone's on board helping them implement and be as successful as possible, because at the end of the day, we get closer and closer to what we're trying to do every time we do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's I don't know. It's just fun. That's what it is. It's fun.
Well, just on that, Jesse, you offer training for blockchain developers to become good blockchain developers and stuff. Do you offer training to the other staff, but also in terms of like the emotional intelligence type training, being relationship skills stuff, creating a great work environment?
I don't. Maybe I should. But I've been very, very fortunate to have brought a bunch of people on who seem to really get along well with each other, and they seem to work really well together as a team. I think it's that idea of having a common goal, right? We're all in this adventure together. And so, I've got people that if someone's like, "Hey, I really need help," my other guys will stay late and help them, and, work a weekend to help somebody out who's struggling. And they don't even really think about it. And I don't know. I think it's the culture that got created, was created around this vision that was set of where we're going. And it kind of fosters an environment like that, where there's a lot of more experienced people mentoring less experienced people. I think it's a healthy environment. I'll have to poll my people and find out, because I don't spend a lot of intentional time making sure that it is.
No, why I ask that is because it's just the vibe that I'm picking up from you, that you may already be doing that, perhaps directly, or you may be doing it inadvertently, indirectly or something, just from your vibe or whatever. That I'm asking you questions you don't normally ask in a crypto interview.
You'll have to do a
economics
disclaimer on the front of the video. It says this is way different than all the other content.
That's right.
This category all its own.
Okay. All right. Yes. Well, one of the things that I've learned is it makes actually, let me say it this way. Gallup?
Yeah.
Okay, so Gallup did this survey to look at what makes for productivity at work, really great productivity. And I think they polled 8 million people all over the world. They know research. And they discovered something that doesn't fit conventional management consultancy sort of thinking. Just doesn't. People's performance is a direct correlation of the quality of relationships that they have at work, but in particular, if they have a best friend at work. If somebody has a best friend at work, they're way more productive. Now, when I first read that, I was like, what is it? When I think about it, wait a minute. If I look at all the places where I've worked, and I've really had great relationships with my managers and all my colleagues, such that those relationships have endured even when I've left those places. I really loved it when I was working there. And it was the same deal when I was at school and at university. It was where I had great relationships with the lecturers and the teachers that I did really well. Like,
that's interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because we are pro-social animals. And if we get on with other people, Sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, no, I mean, it
I'd
makes
much rather
sense.
work with friends than work with enemies or strangers.
Seriously. Well, and a lot of like big corporate environments, which I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not like huge into like the formal, like be professional and all of that stuff. I'm a pretty relaxed individual.
Really? But why are you wearing
yeah.
that business suit?
I know. That's what. Oh, actually, I forgot to turn my hat around. So the joke is, whenever I'm going into a big meeting with a bunch of high level executives, I get ready to go to work by spinning my hat around, so that now this is my professional mode. Like I've just gone from Jesse's a non-professional, like relaxed mode to now he's
business.
Now he's business, all business.
Maybe business. I got it. Okay. All
yes, right. But yeah, no, what an interesting concept. No, if as far as I'm concerned, if a good culture exists at Rapid Innovation, it's because the people that I brought on board have done an amazing job of creating and maintaining a really, really awesome culture. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can take very little credit for almost anything at Rapid Innovation. Like our successes come from the fact that I'm surrounded by amazing people that do an amazing job. And if anything, I can look at the failures we've had, and it's usually for me being like, "Ooh, I think we should go do this," and then everyone's like, "Okay, try." Yeah, it's a bad idea, and then I have to, back up and move a different direction. And they save me often with an amazing work ethic and just, I don't know, I'm surrounded by a pretty amazing group of people.
Great. Well, thank you for saying that about them, and I hope they get to watch this, right? And they hear you say. I'm gonna
tell them this one's banned. They're not allowed to watch it. I don't need to know any of this stuff. Tell them we talked about all kinds of stuff you're not allowed to know. Just don't watch it.
Very, very boring. Very, very boring. Yeah. Okay.
Very boring.
Is there anything else you want to let us know?
I would just say that, if anybody watching this is interested or has interest in, they've got an idea and they want to build an application, give us a call. I would, go to the website, do a request. Like, we work with people that know how to build stuff. We work with people who don't. We work with people who have like zero tech knowledge, and people with a ton. It's not as scary as I think a lot of people make it sound. It requires money, but even that you can get from somebody else if you don't have any. And so, yeah, I want to see this space succeed, and I think the investors that are getting into it often have some of the best ideas, and the institutional people are just looking to make money lots of times. A lot of them are not looking to solve problems. And so I think that's the only thing that I'd have to say, is just encourage people to get into the space in whatever capacity they can, and think of it as more than just a way to get rich. Like, there's so much going on behind the scenes that is amazing. Like, really dig into it and understand it, solve problems, innovate the future.
Very good. All right. Well, look, I'm going to have all the links in the description below so people can go check it out. And I really, really enjoyed talking to you. Anybody who's watching, thank you. Please subscribe, comment, like. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the description below. If you want to go and build, have an MVP for your idea, go get in touch with this project. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Jesse signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.